It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the to the show that we're doing right now.
Following the local teams, breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interview. Join the show by calling into 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press.
Throws, ends it, caught, touchdown, did he get it?
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome on in. It's another edition of the Full Court Press. Very exciting weekend for Utah State athletics. So we'll cap it off. Talk about all the things that happened. Recap the exciting wins, plural, for Utah State. Big wins in basketball, a big win in football. And we'll hear from the coach, Bronco Mendenhall, some of the comments that he made today at his press conference about that win at Fresno State. And I always love to hear from you as well. 435-339-0321. That's the Young Power Sports of Logan text line that you can text into and let us know your thoughts and reactions to the game as it played out in football. We'll focus first on football this hour. We'll get into basketball next hour with Utah State's big wins in Charleston, South Carolina. But for this hour, we're going to be focusing on Utah State football and Aggies with that big win on the road at Fresno State. Just such a different tone and level of execution in the second half. Utah State totally flipped the script on Fresno and did to them what they normally do to others and come home with a win and are now bowl eligible. But they still feel like there's more to be done. They don't feel like mission accomplished and they can rest on their laurels. They still want to try to beat Boise. But we'll focus first on that Fresno win. And Jason, just looking at that performance, certainly a lot of the credit needs to be on Bryson Barnes and his performance, what he was able to do and how he put the team on his back there in the second half.
Yeah, and that's going to be a feature in my Monday cool down, among other things. It should be coming out in a couple hours here. Got to put the finishing touches on it, but Barnes. One of the things is statistically, Bryson Barnes' performance wasn't that great. He barely completed over 50% of his passes, 16 of 30. So one fewer completion, and he completes exactly 50%. Only had 150 passing yards. Had an interception, so he had a passer rating under 100 on a college passer rating, which sub 100 college passer rating is bad. I did have 113 rushing yards, but 4.9 yards per carry. You needed 23 attempts to get the 113 yards, so it was a good rushing performance, but not like an elite one. But that's if you're looking at it from the statistical perspective.
Right, if you're only box score watching.
Yeah, you would have thought, Barnes had a okay
average game.
Solid run game, bad passing game. And, if you look through the first half, to be honest, you might say he had a bit of a bad game if you're just looking at the first half. But this is where you go back to playing in context and just going out there and making plays. I kind of bring this point up in basketball sometimes where there are certain players who I've developed a respect for because it doesn't matter how bad they've played the entire game or mediocre they've played. They'll go out there and they'll make the plays in the right moment. Russell Westbrook was like this all the time. How many times he would go like 3 for 15 against the Jazz in the first 3 quarters and then make like 8 straight shots in the fourth quarter and beat them. Tom Brady was like this for like a lot of his career with the Patriots, where if you look back at some of those playoff performances, he was statistically not that great in some of them. Some he was amazing, but there were a lot of games where he wouldn't play well, and then suddenly he'd lead a fourth quarter game-winning drive against you, regular season or playoffs. And that, in a way, embodied what Bryson Barnes did. And one factor in this, it's not the only one, but third downs are kind of a great avenue to view that by.
Yeah.
The Aggies went like 1 of 7 on third downs in the first half.
1 of 8.
1 of 8 in the first half. In the second half, they go 7 of 8.
Yeah, incredible.
The one they didn't was, it was a Bryson Barnes interception. It was batted at the line, and it falls into the hands of one of the Fresno State players, though at that point, the Aggies were up 28-17 and had the game mostly in hand. That just kind of gave Fresno State a last gasp of hope. But you look at all the other plays, and to just go down the full list, Bryson Barnes, 5-yard completion on 3rd and 4. 3rd and 1, he rushes for 6 yards. 3rd and 7, he completes a 7-yard pass. 3rd and 4, another 7-yard pass. Both of them were to Braden Pagan. 3rd and 13, Bryson Barnes runs it for 13 yards. 3rd and 8, you're in the late third quarter and you're facing 3rd and 13 and then later 3rd and 8 on the same drive. He has a 13-yard run and an 11-yard completion on those two. And then he has a 3-yard run on 3rd and 1 in the fourth quarter. 7 third down completions. And mind you, you look at the Aggies' drives, they had that 9-minute drive. They had 3 third downs. Barnes completes converts every single one, either with his legs or with his arm. The 5-minute touchdown drive, which ended up giving the Aggies the 21-17 lead. That's another 3 third down conversions, all by Bryson Barnes. Then the 7th one and a half, that came on the drive that put him up 28-17. So, yeah, statistically, Barnes wasn't winning any awards, but he won Utah State the football game with his performance, along with others. You can't pin this entirely on Bryson Barnes, but his was the most visible, the most notable. He's the ball carrier. He's the guy going out there who got hit, with little exaggeration, probably 36 times.
Oh, he was knocked around so much.
23 rush attempts, a lot of those, he's leaping over guys, he's getting drilled, a lot of dropbacks. He was peeling himself up off the turf. That guy needed a 2-day-long ice bath after the game, probably. But that was a Warriors performance. And so that's just one aspect of this that really deserves a lot of praise.
On the TV broadcast, Utah State gets down in the field, and they get to a point where they have an opportunity to kick a field goal, to add points going into half and to tie the game. It's a bad kick again.
It's bad enough that I thought it was blocked.
Yeah, I thought it was tipped, but it wasn't. It was just really bad. But there was an extra camera that on a replay was fixed on Bryson. And when that kick went awry, he just had this total look of disgust on his face. And it's almost like at that moment, the light clicked. And it's like, all right, I just got to do this myself. And that's how he came out and performed in the second half.
Yeah.
Like, I have to do this. I am going to will this team to victory by myself if it kills me. It almost did, but he still got the team in a position to win the game.
Yeah.
By double digits, no less.
Yeah, by double digits. They ended up playing a really good game as a team. And I can't overlook the defense.
Oh.
Because this is a unit that I spent about a 3-week span crapping on.
Not just you.
Yeah.
A lot of us.
I wasn't, I tend to be a little toned down in my criticism sometimes, but I was critical. And this is where I kind of turned this around last week after a good performance against UNLV. I gave them their flowers even after they gave up 29 points because, in context, that was a good defensive performance. They do well in this one, too. I know Fresno State's a bad offense, but, outside of 2 plays where they break off a 69-yard rush and then they had that 43-yard completion near the end of the half, those were obviously breakdowns and you can't just throw them out. But, take out those 2 plays and Fresno State had 230 yards the entire game and 3 points. So take out 2 plays and Fresno averaged 4.3 yards per play and had 3 points. And in the second half, you don't have to throw out any outliers because they just didn't allow any points the entire second half, including after the offense had their kind of one big screw up where Miles Davis has the ball hit out of his arms and Fresno State takes over. And at that point, it was 17-14, I believe. So, that was after the Aggies had gone on an 8-minute drive. They get to the game within 3 points. They get a stop. The offense gets it back. And then suddenly it's all right, Fresno's going to basically get free points. It's either 3 points or maybe they manage to get 7 and make it 24-14. And so much of what the Aggies had earned over a nearly 9-minute drive is wiped out. But then the defense comes up big. Not only, it's not just holding him to a field goal and escape with what you can. They get a turnover. And then off that turnover, the Aggies take the lead 21-17.
Yeah, there were big adjustments and improvements in the second half, and Coach Mendenhall talked about that earlier today. He gave credit to his coordinators after the game Saturday night. If it was too late and you'd fallen asleep and you didn't catch it, I don't blame you. But he had kind of expounded on some of the improvements that his team made in that second half at Fresno State.
Yeah, it was essential, and if I did say that, that was accurate. Man, maybe someone told me to say that, but we did kind of out Fresno in the second half. There's, based on the play count or penalties, the way that I saw it, there was an 18-play drive, a 12-play drive, and a 6-play drive, all leading to touchdowns. That was sandwiched with 3 and outs defensively and a 6 and out, which was two series possessions by Fresno. And then maybe the most critical series of the entire game is we turn it over, and then we force a turnover immediately after. Someone shared a statistic with me today, you'll have to verify it, that of the 9 turnovers which we've had all year, which is remarkable, of those, I think only 2 have led to touchdowns. And that's really impressive because those are hard circumstances, especially when the ball's on the 20 or in the red zone. And so I think that series, man, that gave us a chance to continue out Fresnoing Fresno rather than possibly a separation happening the other way a little bit. And that was a critical series. Another key element I would just say as we're going, and I've talked about Bryson Barnes, but we were about 50% on third down conversions, many of which were Bryson throwing it or running it. And so our ability to stay on the field, and I would say I think Fresno was 3 of 14 on third down, but maybe more importantly, that's super important in terms of getting off the field, but 0 for 3 on fourth down, which to me are the equivalent of turnovers. And so you put all that together in one half, then that leads to a shutout defensively and 3 touchdowns offensively with basically the entire clock being used. And that's why I felt so good for the team.
Yeah, the term was out Fresno. They performed in a way that Fresno has been used to using to win games, and Utah State beat them at their own game, basically. A strong run game right at them, strong defense, taking away what some of their strengths are. That had been the recipe for Fresno State for much of their wins that they've experienced this year, and Utah State just beat them at their own game. They chewed up clock, long sustained drives, and they got points on the board. Took away possessions for Fresno so they couldn't get back into the game. But, a lot of credit to Utah State using Fresno's aggression against them, but going right into the heart of their strength and getting progress out of it. Super impressive how Utah State was able to pull that off.
Yeah, and I want to emphasize this as well about Utah State. Because we've seen late season pushes by the Aggies before, and you might get tricked into thinking, hey, this team is like significantly improved and they're getting to a bowl game and they're resilient. And I don't want to say those aren't necessarily true, but I look back at 2023. Utah State won 3 of its final 4 games to go bowl eligible. But those games were against 2 4-8 teams. San Diego State and New Mexico both went 4-8 that season, and a Nevada team that went 2-10. The one team they lost to was the one team in that stretch that was bowl eligible. The Aggies, they beat Nevada to start this, turnaround that we're seeing. Absolutely killed them. Of course, Nevada's on like a 2-game win streak now, aren't they? Because I think they've won their last 2 games, or maybe.
Yeah, did they win last week?
Yeah, because I think they beat Wyoming, if I recall correctly, or I may be confusing them.
Yeah, they did, 13-7.
So they beat San Jose, killed San Jose. Yeah, any game with Wyoming's a barn burner. So, but still, it's a Nevada team that's now up to 3 wins. So still nothing to write too much home about. But then they go out and play, about 95% of what is required to win against a UNLV team that is now 9-2 and is looking like they're a pretty decent chance to get into the Mountain West title game. You lose to them in double overtime. Then you beat a Fresno State team that's already bowl eligible. They were 7-3 going into that game. Fresno is now 7-4. Utah State is showing improvement against better teams than some of the ones they were playing earlier in some respects. Utah State didn't retreat to its safe zone and then beat teams that are beatable. They went out and, after getting whooped up on by New Mexico and Hawaii, going out and playing similar caliber teams. You could argue maybe they're better or slightly worse. I mean, Hawaii and New Mexico are both solid teams. It's similar caliber teams at the very least, and played significantly better. So this isn't a turnaround that's brought about by an easier schedule. This is a turnaround brought about by actual legitimate improvement, changes, adjustments, whatever you want to call them, whatever the technical term may be, what's actually happening. This is a team that is truly improved. And the improvements seem to be sticking. It's not 1 week and then they rest on their laurels and get killed the next week by another good team. It's did really well against Nevada. Didn't say, oh yeah, now we're back and we'll go beat UNLV. They brought it again. Should have won against UNLV. And then even after that disappointment, brought it again, even after a rough start. Beat Fresno State at their own dadgum game in that ball control style of play. And they won on the road. And the stat that sticks out, Jason Turner was telling me this from the Herald Journal, where he's saying this is their first road win over a bowl-eligible team since 2021.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So this is, again, I have to, this isn't just beating a Nevada team or some team that's at the bottom and calling that resilience and saying, oh, we're a resilient team because we beat a team that sucks. No, this is a team that is resilient and going out there and doing things they hadn't been doing before. Playing defense, getting things done on offense where they'd actually been struggling for a few weeks, and doing everything that was required to get a win, not just 95% of what was required. And that's the thing that, to me, that stands out most about this game is this is not a game the Aggies were expected to win, and they went out and did it. And that's not something we've seen a whole lot from these middling years that we've seen since 2021, where they win the games where they're supposed to and they lose the games they're supposed to. They went out in these last 2 weeks, dang near won a game they were not supposed to win, and then did win a game they were not supposed to win. And that's where you're seeing real progress and potential to actually step back up to the level that we've been able to see from the Aggies in seasons like 2021 or 2018.
Yeah, and Bronco, Coach Mendenhall alluded to how these types of games, winning important games to get you to bowl eligibility, can help launch a team and launch a program into a kind of a whole other level, a whole other stratosphere of success and accomplishment.
But I'm just really encouraged. I felt similar when I was the coach at BYU in my first year, and I talked about this on the radio this morning. We went to Wyoming and needed to win to be bowl eligible. BYU had 3 losing seasons in a row, and first-time head coach, and I had taken over that program, never having coached before, and that team was just so excited in the locker room to be back in postseason. That they went on a pretty strong run at BYU over that entire time. But that was the catalyst at Virginia, year 2. We win the 6th game against Georgia Tech, and the fans rush the field. It was about the midway point in the season, make it to postseason, and then the next year, shout out South Carolina in a bowl game. And then the Orange Bowl was the following year. So the bowl game years are really catalysts to program enhancement and development, and it's hard to do.
Yeah, some years it's a little bit more challenging than others, but the expectation is at a place like Utah State to go bowling, to be at least bowl eligible. And so this is interesting to hear his perspective about winning important games in November that get you to that point, and then how he's able to build off of that. And then he actually expanded on that a little bit more. We'll get to that in a little bit. But first, we want to get to some of the texts coming through on the Young Power Sports of Logan text line, 435-339-0321. A few texts sent in over the weekend. This one from 4177. Bryson Barnes plays more like touchdown Tony Adams back in the 1970s. It's a real throwback to quarterbacks in another time. 9310. Best Aggie win since 2021?
Probably. There haven't been a whole lot of marquee wins and over bowl eligible teams. So a lot of Aggie seasons have been they beat all the teams that didn't get to a bowl and lost to all the teams that did. Heck, including when they went to bowl games. So it sounds kind of extreme to say it like that, but I maybe I have to double check. But off the top of my head, I think it kind of is.
It's got to be in the discussion. I might have to do some.
I'm going to scan the previous. We'll probably do that during the break. Let's get to a few more texts.
Yeah, we'll get to a few more. We'll do some of the further research on that. 2444 saying, I'm not sure how you guys will be able to choose between Bryson Barnes and MJ Collins for the Full Court Press Player of the Week after this past weekend. Barnes might be the toughest college player in the country and front runner for Mountain West Offensive Player of the Year. Meanwhile, Collins is looking like an All-American. Those were some special performances.
Yeah, there were we should probably play the clip. I don't know if we have it uploaded, but it's on my Twitter, so we can probably play that about Bronco's thoughts on Barnes potentially being Mountain West Player of the Year or Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, we might need to get it off of your Twitter because I don't think I got to that yet in my cut sheet.
It was in the post game, which a lot of times we don't put the post game stuff in our cut sheet. So
that's right. So we got more texts coming through. We'll get to those. We'll have, still a chance for you to chime in and weigh in as well. 435-339-0321. Recapping a very big weekend for Utah State sports with that football win on the road and on Saturday, and then that basketball great performance, especially by MJ Collins, but a big win on Sunday over Davidson. We'll continue to discuss next on the Full Court Press.
Advanced Heating and Air Conditioning and Advanced Fireplace and Stove want to help local families this year with a food drive. Drop your canned foods off at the Advanced Fireplace and Stove showroom across from DI or hand them to one of their technicians when they come to your home for a repair. The Advanced team will match all contributions and offer the first month free when joining the Advanced Comfort Club. Find out more at advancedheating-ac.com. Donate to the Advanced Canned Food Drive for local families.
Looking for comfort and convenience in Logan? Stay at the Bomb Motel for just $79 when you mention Aggie 79. Just minutes from USU. Perfect for football games, commencements, campus events, and more. Enjoy your stay without the hassle. Your sure stay Bomb Motel offers cozy beds, free continental breakfasts, and a seasonal outdoor pool. True comfort and value. $79 rooms with Aggie 79. The Bomb Motel. Call 435-752-5220. That's 752-5220 today.
Since 1896, S.C. Needham Jewelers has been selling diamonds in historic downtown Logan. Today, you have a choice of both natural and lab-grown diamonds. You'll be impressed with the affordability of our diamonds today. With our international suppliers from Israel, India, and Antwerp, Belgium, we're able to guarantee the best price. Simply magnify our diamonds, select your favorite, and have it mounted in a ring of your choice. Open Monday through Saturday, 10 to 7, where Utah gets engaged. S.C. Needham Jewelers, middle of the block, at the sign of the clock.
Winter's here and that old car sitting in your driveway isn't getting any warmer. Turn that frozen junker into cold hard cash with DD Auto and Salvage in Logan. It's never too cold, too wet, or too late to clean up and cash out. DD Auto and Salvage makes it quick and easy. They'll even pick it up for you. Get the most money possible for your junk vehicle or scrap metal and earn a little extra holiday cash while you're at it. Call 787-1204. That's 787-1204. And let DD Auto and Salvage pay you today. DD Auto and Salvage. Cold cars turned into hot cash.
Northern Utah and Southern Idaho's home for sports. It's the Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
Welcome back to the Full Court Press. Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker, recapping Utah State's football win at Fresno State on a late Saturday night. And guess they had some travel problems coming home.
Yeah, they did. They didn't get in until Sunday at 6:30, I think to Logan at 6:30 a.m. because they had to fly into Salt Lake because of weather. Because I think they were supposed to fly into Logan Airport, but weren't able to do that, so they got back pretty late. It was kind of a long weekend for everyone involved in Aggie sports because for everyone in football didn't get back till Sunday morning, and for a lot of fans and media it was Friday basketball, Saturday football, Sunday basketball.
Yeah, that's true.
I know JD and Stockton were absolute warriors. JD worked himself sick. He's literally out sick today. Those two put in a lot of work with their Aggie game day stuff. So I need to give the props to JD and Stockton for pushing through. We were all kind of wiped out on Sunday. I think we were glad that game ended up being a blowout, because it was like, oh, this is easy.
Yeah.
It's pretty easy to
Low
write.
stress.
Yeah, and to be treated to that kind of game and to not have any, just have it be easy. But yeah, football was pretty crazy as well.
Now, you alluded to some comments from Coach Bronco Mendenhall about Bryson Barnes, whether he should be in consideration for the Mountain West Offensive Player of the Year. He did not get the weekly award.
Yeah, that went to Calandria.
It went to Calandria. And
of course, these comments were made before, like these were made after the game on Saturday. So
right. Calandria played on Friday.
Yeah.
But this is immediately after Bryson Barnes' performance on Saturday night from Bronco Mendenhall, and his thoughts about whether Barnes should be in consideration for the Mountain West Conference Offensive Player of the Year.
It's Bryson Barnes every day, all day, every vote. Unfortunately, Mountain West honors aren't like that. And it's not a perfect process. It's probably one of the most flawed and imperfect processes that exists. But I mean, I've never seen anything like it. And it's just so what he's doing for this team, just simply by commitment, is setting the foundation of this program for a long, long time.
I love it. I mean, as a coach, you advocate for your guys, and that's what he's doing. You know, the old standard is normally that award goes to the best player on the best team with the best record.
And that's been just about a hard rule.
It's not in writing anywhere, but it might as well be.
Yeah, it might as well be. And heck, in some instances, it kind of is in writing, at least for some of the Player of the Week awards, where winning plays a really big role. If you had a 40-burger in a loss, you might not win Player of the Week.
Right.
Because wins matter that much in the Mountain West criteria. And winning over good teams is often something. And that's where, like Calandria, they beat Hawaii, and that pretty much made him a shoo-in for Offensive Player of the Week.
Yeah, and I get that. Because, I mean, that was a game to determine who might still be in the discussion for the title game, and if whoever loses, it's going to be really hard for them to get back into that discussion.
Yeah, and so that was a big performance. I don't want to take anything away from Anthony Calandria. And honestly, I feel like he's probably deserving. But Bryson Barnes is right up there with him, and I think a lot of people are assuming that it should be Calandria and it should only be him. And it's kind of like the basketball Player of the Year last year, where you had Donovan Dent, where he was absolutely special, but so was Neat Clifford. And a lot of people said it should be Donovan Dent, and that's the end of the discussion. I was like, no, it's not the end of the discussion. There is a discussion. And there should be that discussion between Bryson Barnes and Anthony Calandria. And a lot of it just comes down to, what do you see on film? There's the whole dubious eye test, which is just excuse for, I want this guy to win, usually. Like, that's usually what eye test is code for. I think this guy is better, but I can't prove it, so I just say eye test.
How does he help his team with winning? What would the team look like without them in the mix?
And I mean, with both UNLV and Utah State, those teams both might be losing teams. Well, Utah State would probably be a 2-win team without Bryson Barnes.
Yeah.
UNLV would probably still be bowl eligible, but obviously wouldn't be in any consideration for the Mountain West title games. So there's that discussion. Of course, with Blake, I got called Bronco Blake Anderson, Bronco Mendenhall, obviously sticking up for his guy, and there's an argument for Bryson Barnes to be Player of the Year, just because he has played very, very well. Not always statistically. He doesn't jump off the film where he's this like super athlete, but he just goes out there and he makes plays. And that's kind of the special aspect of this. And Bronco even kind of talked about it, because I think somebody asked him, let's see, was it on here? Because at one point somebody was asking him about Bryson Barnes, and he went back to, things like Taysom Hill and all that at BYU, and how Barnes doesn't measure up athletically to those guys, but still does a lot of the same things those guys pulled off.
And a very high level of competitive spirit, which is part of what Bryson's superpower is.
Yeah, it's like he basically has Batman's superpower. Like, that's who Bryson Barnes is, not his absurd wealth. That's arguably one of Batman's superpowers, but the other superpower of just, you never give up, tough as nails, always get up after taking a beating, and just keep going. And that's what Bryson Barnes has been.
Let's see. Well, let's just go to 6543's text, and it kind of circles us back to one of the questions going into the break. But 6543 says, great win. Some questions. Is this our first win against a team with a winning record? Were we really that good the second half, or was Fresno just plain bad, or was it a combo of both? And what is our strength of schedule this season?
Well, the strength of schedule is actually pretty good. I should have looked at that text because I could have actually looked up a strength of schedule metric. But it's been tough. Like the Aggies, most of the teams the Aggies have played have had a winning record. A&M, Vanderbilt, Hawaii, New Mexico, UNLV, Fresno. So I guess maybe it's about half and half.
Well, Utah State's conference wins are against Air Force, who does not have a winning record, Nevada, who does not have a winning record, San Jose, who does not have a winning record.
Then Fresno.
And then Fresno, who does have a winning record.
So that was their first win over a team with a winning record, unless McNeese has a winning record, which, based on the way they played, I don't know if they would, even against FCS competition. But among among FBS opponents, that was their first win over a team with a winning record.
UTEP does not have a winning record. They're 2-9.
I already knew that without looking it up. I knew they've not had that great of a season. So, but again, this is why I say like there's actual improvement. And sure, Fresno State did not play as good of a second half as they did a first half. But I'd argue, and again, this is why I kind of pointed out that like those two plays in the first half, those were their really only two good moments, aside from a half decent drive that got them into field goal range. So even in the first half, Fresno State really wasn't playing much better than they did in the second half. The Aggies just had two breakdowns.
Well, E.J. Warner was playing efficient football in this first half.
But not like super impactful.
No. But it's funny you say that because they were making this, they had the graph on there and they're talking about his big first half. And I felt like that's not really impactful. And you were like, well, you take that and times it by 2. If he does that same thing in the second half, that's a really great game.
It was more like 260 yards. I said it was an okay game.
Yeah. Like,
You're using my own words against me, Eric. Don't make me sound like a hypocrite.
Your opinion is the one I shared. And you talked down to me on. No, I'm just kidding. But when you look at it in its whole, in its entirety, yeah, I think Fresno, like they made a quarterback change, which was surprising. Coach Mendenhall was and his staff was caught off guard by that. Fresno State went away from what has been pretty successful for them in using their stable of running backs. So yes, some of the blame rests on their shoulders for some of their decisions in that game, but Utah State took away a lot of what they wanted to do. Utah State defensively and offensively did things that limited Fresno State, and Utah State took things away from them, which they like to try to do. So a little bit of both, but I would more so say that it was Utah State outperforming Fresno than Fresno making bad choices and bad decisions. And then regarding like most important win for Utah State or biggest win for Utah State, the question was biggest win since 2021. Jason, you and I kind of looked back through the last couple of seasons, and you think it's relatable to that, or do you have a win that was more important for Utah State?
Well, to argue win more important, that you could maybe, split some hairs. But as far as best team, you go almost all the way back to 2021. But you actually run into the 2022 season when the Aggies, it was early October, they beat an Air Force team that went on to be 10-3. They beat them at home, so this is why I say it was the first road win over a team with that was bowl eligible. Since 2021, where they had San Diego State, who they beat in the championship game in what was technically a road game, although they were playing at that soccer stadium. Although they also did it 2 other times in 2021. I forget which ones, but one of them was Washington State. But so yeah, it's the first, kind of really good win, or even like good win, like good win, considering quality of opponent. Since, at least 2022 and maybe even 2021, depending on what factors you're using in there. So, yeah, it kind of shows where Utah State's kind of been stuck in mediocrity for 2-3 years now. And at the tail end of Bronco Mendenhall's first year, you're seeing the improvement. Now, this isn't a season, 2025 is not going to be remembered super fondly 2, 3, 4, 10 years from now. But, I keep talking about, can these improvements stick week to week? If these kind of improvements can stick year to year, then you end up looking at 2025 about the same way you look at 2011. 2011 wasn't really a special season, but they got to a bowl game for the first time in like 20 years.
Right.
And while this isn't the same kind of...
And everybody could feel there was a culture change that was starting to materialize.
Yeah. And Utah State's not facing, a 20-year bowl drought, but they've been in this mediocrity. You lost 2 straight bowl games, kind of seasons where you're just barely getting to 6-6, then you get blown out in a bowl game, then you go 4-8. That is, the valley of the kind of low point of this, post revival, post Gary Anderson, football era. It's kind of like when Matt Wells had that 3-9 season. That was a bit of a valley. Then it ramps back up, and you're potentially seeing things ramp back up where you're not just skidding by to bowl eligibility. You're showing real improvement, beating actually good teams, and then getting to bowl eligibility. And as and you're pointing out with Bronco Mendenhall's comments earlier, it's these kind of seasons that become the catalyst to something bigger, which he was outlining, especially with his time at Virginia, as well as at BYU, where those started out a bit slow, but they built up to some pretty special things relative to where those programs were before he got there.
Yeah, and then I had a follow-up to where I asked him about, last year he was changing some things at New Mexico. They were on the precipice of getting bowl eligible, but they didn't make it. First year here at Utah State, trying to change the culture and improve some things. He has got the team to bowl eligibility. There's still more to be done. But so what are the differences this year compared to last year, being in Logan versus being in Albuquerque?
It's really subtle. It's very similar. And that team at New Mexico was picked to win just one game. The history had been very poor, meaning 2 bowl games over the last, or 2 winning seasons maybe over the last, I'm not sure how many years. So the tradition had been there and then kind of gone dormant for a while. So I would just say the reference point or the starting point here was farther. The tradition, the existing players, the depth, the commitment, the resources, while similar, slightly and significantly at the same time, further ahead. And that has made the difference in a very small margin. A year ago, we needed a win in Hawaii to go over there at the end and finish the score short. But very similar, and man, what a difference in terms of the feeling and the chance to keep playing football versus going home. This is different because, again, we have another one as well, and I'd love to see this team continue to play really well, add momentum to the game they just had, carry that into postseason, and I mean, there's still a lot to play for.
Yeah, there is a lot to play for, and it's exciting. Meaningful games in November. The difference between Utah State and New Mexico is just Utah State has had more recent success. Utah State has a more recent football culture, a football winning culture, I should clarify. Certainly that was started to be built last year, and you can see what's happening this season with Coach Eck and how they've built on reviving that football culture in Albuquerque.
Yeah, I'd argue that Jason Eck probably doesn't have as good a year. I know player-wise, he didn't get a whole lot of leftovers from Bronco, but the support for the program, the fan support, the fan engagement, and Jason Eck has done a ton to elevate that. He didn't inherit
a ton of outreach.
Yeah, he has done a ton and deserves a lot of that, but I think he was able to build on a foundation that had started to be laid by Bronco Mendenhall, and Jason Eck has done a spectacular job building on top of that. So while Eck deserves most of the credit for what New Mexico has done, Bronco helped with that. Probably would have gotten them to a bowl this year anyway if he'd stayed.
Yeah.
But then, he comes over to Utah State and does the same thing he was doing at New Mexico, but got to do it a little bit quicker because Utah State had more of that foundation there than what Bronco had when he first arrived in New Mexico.
We're going to take a time out here on the Full Court Press, but it's still time for you to chime in. Get more comments and reactions from Bronco Mendenhall, from you, as well as Utah State picked up that big win at Fresno. If you want to chime in, the text line is open, 435-339-0321.
Les Olson IT is your source for top quality technology. We carry the latest desktop and laptop PCs in stock, configured to your specific needs, and backed by our award-winning support team. And if your business demands high-performance hardware, we offer custom-built computers that can tackle any task. We also offer great computer accessories like monitors, keyboards, speakers, Fujitsu document scanners, and more. Get a quote today.
Les Olson IT.
Ski season is coming, which means season ski rentals. This is Mark at The Sportsman, where we have over 20 years of season ski rental experience. We rent to kids and adults. Come in to get season ski rentals for your entire family. We like to wait a little later in the fall because there is a chance your kids might grow out of their boots by the time ski season actually rolls around. You will get the right gear for your kids to ski this year at The Sportsman on Main Street in downtown Logan, with tons of parking in the back.
It's that first kiss, that moment in time.
Over the last few years, we have expanded the store to create one of the largest engagement selections in northern Utah. In addition to our goldsmith, we now have a design team that creates, casts, and brings to life your one-of-a-kind ring right here in our store, all for one common goal, to make it special for you. If you haven't been in yet, come see what makes us so special.
Jarrett's fine jewelry. Make it special, make it Jarrett's.
The patio is open. The chips are endless. Drinks on tap. You know it's got to be Cafe Sabor, Cache Valley's best Mexican restaurant, gold winner in the Best of Northern Utah contest. Experience Locals Day every Thursday with a huge burrito, endless chips and soda, only $7.95. That's a complete lunch for just $7.95. Finding any lunch under $10 is nearly impossible. Every Thursday, drinks, chips, and massive burrito, just $7.95. The patio, the sun, the fun at Cafe Sabor in the historic train station on 6th Weston Center in Logan.
The Full Court Press. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and online at 1069thefan.com.
Welcome back to the Full Court Press. Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker. 435-339-0321. For those who want to chime in, give your thoughts, your reactions to Utah State's win at Fresno State on Saturday night. 435-339-0321. A couple texts coming in, 9315 with a number of texts, so hang in there. We'll try to get through all these. That's the best I've seen Utah State football play in a little over 2 years. That's in the defensive play. Officially, the offense did amazing in the second half. Offensive play calling was on point all game. Games with Wyoming should be called a wind burner or blizzard burner, to be more accurate.
Yeah.
And then Bryson is so tough that a piece of shoe leather doesn't stand a chance.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think the coordinator's done a fantastic job. I know sometimes with personnel and injuries, they've struggled a little bit to make things work, but I think Kevin McGivern's done a great job. They dialed a couple trick plays. Bryson Barnes had the 0 passing, 0 rushing touchdowns. Did have a receiving touchdown, but it's not like even with that they struggled, because when they needed a score, they're able to draw up some things with Anthony Garcia. So and that kept Fresno State off guard. And then they also just leaned into what was working in the second half. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So they kept doing it.
Yeah.
Which is another great thing with the coordinators. They did a great job, and then Nick Howell obviously deserving his flowers for what they did against Fresno State, especially in the second half.
Absolutely. 3714, the Bullsworth Trophy, Bullsworth Award isn't a major national award, but hasn't his body of work helped him make a strong bid for it?
Remind me what the Bullsworth Trophy Award.
That goes to somebody who started their college career as a walk-on.
Oh. I wouldn't know who the other candidates are, so I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, I don't know who the candidates would be, but certainly Bryson Barnes should be in that kind of a discussion if possible. 5763, Barnes was a beast at Fresno. Much needed road win. Great weekend for Aggie football, basketball, and women's volleyball.
Hey, women's volleyball completing the perfect Mountain West volleyball season. So great stuff from her there. But finishing some of these texts, I actually wanted to dive into some bowl projections. I haven't really touched bowl projections much this season, because I was like on the fence as to whether or not the Aggies would even get into a bowl game. But now that we know they're bowl eligible, I know it's like not a guarantee, because technically if there's too many bowl eligible teams, which I think the number is like 84 or 82 teams, because I think there's 40 something bowls, I think is what it is. I don't know. Actually, I don't know if that's right. But I mean, there is a lot of bowl games, but I think Utah State's going to get in them. So I went through, just kind of did a quick scan of the first page of Google search results. Had to skim through all the articles that were only projecting the college football playoff, because
that's
some of those,
frustrating.
And then they put in their SEO
as if any other bowl doesn't matter.
Yeah, but they put the annoying thing is they put in their SEO bowl projections so that people like me find their stuff, and then it's like, but I want the other bowl projections, and you're only giving me like 6 of them when there's like 40 something bowls. Okay, but I ended up finding some, and so I've got 2 guys from ESPN, Kyle Monagura and Mark Schlabach. I don't know how to say their names. Schlabach. Then I found SI.com, Athlon, or as I wrote in my notes, Atlon, and then CBS Sports. ESPN, Kyle, call him Kyle. He has the Aggies in the Frisco Bowl playing against Louisiana Tech. And then Schlabach has the Aggies in the First Responder Bowl playing Texas State, the future Pac-12 team. And he's not the only one that has the Aggies playing Texas State in the First Responder Bowl, because CBS Sports has that same projection. And then SI.com has the Aggies making a return to the New Mexico Bowl for the first time since 2018. That big win they had over North Texas there. They have the Aggies playing Louisiana. Now, Athlon, they have the Aggies not going to a bowl game.
What?
I think they had a bunch of teams missed projections. I guess they project there's going to be too many. And it says it's been updated as of November 23rd. So, that's what the article says. It's what all the information says, is that it has been updated since November 23rd, and they say the Aggies aren't going to a bowl game. So,
strange.
Take that for what it's worth.
Weird.
But the Mountain West should have 7 bowl-eligible teams, which will obviously make projecting a little tricky, because there are too many bowl-eligible teams for the bowl tie-ins that they have, which the Mountain West doesn't have that many bowl tie-ins to begin with.
Yeah, Mountain West does have 7 bowl-eligible teams right now. No one else can get bowl-eligible at this point, so that is where they're going to be.
Yeah, that's where it's going to sit. So I may have to do the math on how many bowl-eligible teams there are.
So, we don't like that, but that is a reality. Utah State could be among those that just get to 6-6 and are going to be on the fringe of, do they go bowling or not?
Yeah.
And Bronco Mendenhall spoke glowingly that it's important for his team to go to a bowl game.
Yeah. We'll have to see how many. I'm going to look up how many 6-6 teams there are. And there's 41 bowl games, right?
At least. Now, I know there have been some who got canceled. Like the Bahamas Bowl isn't going to happen anymore, and I think there might have been one other. So it was expanding at an unsustainable rate, and now it's starting to detract or decline a little bit. But I don't know how many there are exactly.
There are currently 73 FBS teams that have 6 wins. There are 96 that have at least 5. And I don't know how many of those play each other and how many is mathematically possible to get to 6, but there's probably roughly 80-something teams, like the high 80s, that can get to 6 wins by the end of next week. So it's
a lot of bowl inventory to fill.
I think there's technically more teams that can be bowl eligible than there are bowl games. So that's something to keep an eye on this last week. Of course, if the Aggies get to 7 wins, that pretty much guarantees.
Yeah, you're guaranteed. Your ticket is punched, and that's where they want to be. They want to leave no doubt. You want to beat Boise. You want to still put yourself in a chance to be in the conference title game, albeit very slim, but that's still a possibility. But the biggest thing would just to beat Boise, just the satisfaction of beating the Broncos.
Yeah, that would be That would be worth
That means more than anything else. Got to take another quick timeout. We'll be right back with more reactions to Utah State's win over Fresno in football.
This Thanksgiving, Adams Wealth Advisors is grateful for you, our clients, and our community. It's our sincerest wish that as you host or travel to meet loved ones, safety follows you wherever you may be. Adams Wealth Advisors is here to help you secure your financial future so you can focus on what truly matters. Happy Thanksgiving from Adams Wealth Advisors, building your legacy and protecting your peace of mind. Visit adamswealthadvisors.com to learn more.
Addiction is the one thing that everybody knows about, but not many people talk about. If you're finding yourself in a situation where you're struggling with personal addiction, or maybe you love someone who's struggling with addiction right now, our friends at Renaissance Ranch have a place where you can go for healing. And they focus on more than just the addiction. They help your family heal too. Addiction doesn't just impact one person, it impacts everybody it touches. Learn more at renaissanceranch.net. Also, you can visit their location right here in Logan.
For the men and women who feed America and never ask for applause, West Motor Company salutes you. Thank you for raising the food that fills our tables, for your grit, your hard work. West Motor Company is proud to sell Ram and Ford trucks to help you do your job. So right now, farmers and ranchers can take an additional $500 off our lowest price. That's an extra $500 off every rebate, discount, and offer we can find. West Motor Company, 80 years strong and still driven to serve you.
Hi, this is Ashley with LSS Insurance. The Medicare annual enrollment period is here, and now's your chance to compare plans and get coverage that really works for you. Whether it's a Medicare supplement, Medicare Advantage plan, or a prescription drug plan, we'll walk you through your options personally. Call 752-9493 to speak with a licensed agent right here in Cache Valley. No pressure, no cost, just local help you can count on. Don't wait. Annual enrollment ends December 7th. Call LSS Insurance 752-9493.
Talking the sports you care about. The Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
Keep your car running at its best with the help from Napa Auto Parts. You need a new battery or wiper blades? Napa has the best brands. It can even help you with installation right on the spot at the store. You can find out more details at any of the locally owned Preston and Providence Napa Auto Parts stores. So, talking about Utah State football, big win at Fresno, and Aggies get to bowl eligibility, trying to get even more than that if they can. But Jason was looking at bowl projections out there. Most have the Aggies going bowling, but there are a few that not quite yet.
Yeah, and I'm working on the math of how many teams have actually earned bowl eligibility. As I was saying, there are 73 teams that have gotten 6 wins, although one of them, Missouri State, is in their first season of the FBS, so they can't get to a bowl game. I think they're petitioning for one, much like I think James Madison did a few years back. But I think they can only get in if not enough teams are bowl eligible. I think they can maybe get in. I'm not 100% sure on that, but first season FBS teams, there has to be some exception for them to be able to get a bowl, even though Missouri State's 7-4, and it's certainly done enough to earn a bowl. There's a few other teams that are close to bowl eligibility. Delaware's in the same situation, but they're only 5-6. I mentioned Akron as a team, or they were in the math as far as teams that had 5 wins, but they're 5-7. Their season is over, as far as I'm aware. They played their last game.
Wow.
Like last week or something like that. So I don't know what happened there. Maybe I'm missing something, but still working on the math. So I'm coming up to about 93 or so teams before looking at any of these teams that have 5 wins that might play each other. Again, 93-ish teams that could, in theory, get to 6 wins before actually doing some fact checking to see if that number in theory actually works, which I'm very certain it doesn't. But I have to double check to see how much more that number gets shaved down from 93 to something in the mid-80s, which is about how much bowl inventory there is to begin with.
Yeah, so Utah State wants to make sure, absolute positive, that they're there in that discussion. Bronco, we don't have time to play his full clip right now, but he believes in going to bowls. We've seen coaches here in Logan who going to a bowl was a distraction. Like, they didn't really care that much about going to a bowl. It became a distraction. It got in the way of recruiting. It got in the way of the transfer portal. Whereas in previous times, other coaches had seen it as this is a second spring, or really a first spring. This is a great opportunity to build your program for next year. Add more practices, and to compete and celebrate. Well, Blake Anderson, after that first season, it seemed like the bowl games in his last couple of years were nuisances rather than opportunities. And Bronco definitely does not believe that way. He believes that it's a great opportunity. Those are, and the bottom line on it is that he feels like it's more time that he gets to spend with his guys. And so that's why he's excited for getting this team to a bowl game, because he gets to spend more time with these guys.
Yeah.
And he's super excited about that.
Yeah, and they want to keep playing football, and you hope that they do. And you hope these guys get the best chance they can to maximize this season, because football's fun.
When done right. Yes, it is. All right, stick around next hour. Still a whole lot more to get into. We haven't even touched Utah State basketball. Big weekend for them as well. MJ Collins, my goodness, he went supernova. We'll discuss next hour here on the...
I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise. The Vikings have a J.J. McCarthy problem, and it's getting harder to ignore. Sunday's divisional loss to the Packers didn't just drop the Vikings to 4-7. It crystallized the frustration surrounding a season that was supposed to be transitional. And fair or not, the bulk of that spotlight has landed on McCarthy. He's now made 6 starts, and the numbers read like a caution sign. 929 yards, 6 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, and a 54% completion rate. A 2-4 record in those starts, only sharpens the edges. There have been flashes, the arm talent, mobility, the occasional drive that reminds you of why he was drafted in round 1, but the inconsistency has become the headline. Normally you preach patience with a young quarterback. Let him grow, let him fail, let him learn. But patience is harder to sell in Minnesota these days, not with Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones having their new teams in a playoff hunt. He still has time, but the runway is shrinking, and Minnesota knows it. I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise.